If we step back and stop telling ourselves, I want to be rich, I want to have money, I want, and start to understand what money is, all of a sudden we start to reflect differently upon life and the value that we are providing to our clients, to those around us. And it doesn't just become about money, it becomes about value exchange. That's really what it's all about.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out with you once again in the podcast chair. Sponsored today by Anow Software. Anow, thank you for being such a great sponsor of the program. A great software for appraisers to be using to, manage and keep track of everything that's going on in their appraisal office. It's anow.com, anow.com. Folks, we're progressing through what I call the principles of prosperity over the last couple of weeks and in the weeks to follow. In today's principle, we're on principle number 3. I want to remind you that these are not in any particular order. They're not in order specifically of importance. They are simply principles of truth that, as I have utilized them in my life, have blessed me greatly. Meaning I've seen results. Meaning when I employ them, good things happen, and when I forget about them, not so good things happen. Number 3 today is an important one, and it seems very fundamental. And really all of these truly are. I mean, we're not talking about rocket science here. We're talking about principles of truth that when I say them, they ring true to you. And they ring true to you because you have utilized them and you have practiced them and you have the same experience that I have. When you do them and do them right, good things happen. And when you forget and cast aside these principles, maybe great things don't happen in your life. Now, I want to make it very clear. That does not mean that if you follow these 16 principles that you'll have nothing but happiness, joy, lollipops, and rainbows. That's not how life works. All I'm saying is that in general, as you employ these principles in your life, you'll see good things over time. You're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs, but for the most part, these things work. Now, again, these principles are not crazy out there. They're not something you need to climb to the top of a high mountain in the Himalayas and meet with an individual with crossed legs with a burning incense fire in front of him. These are simply reality. These are simply lived experiences. Okay, so number 3, let's get to it. Number 3, money is only a tool. Now, that word tool has been used to describe fools or idiots lately. I'm not talking about that kind of tool. I'm talking about an instrument. Money is only a tool. Money is only an instrument. In order to fully understand this principle, we would really have to do a history lesson on the history of money and what it looks like and what it has been in the past and how it has progressed, and I don't have time for that. I'm not going to do that to you. I am going to give you a couple of things to chew on, however. By the way, I have done that study. I know it sounds strange, but there was a period of time when I studied money in depth. I had a book called What is Money? I had several other books that were related to the topic, and I did a deep dive, and many of the things I'm about to share with you come off of memory, and so they may not be completely accurate, but I think they're pretty close. First of all, the history of money is that it simply became a tool for ease. Let me explain that in a hypothetical situation. Okay, let's say that you needed groceries, you needed food. Okay, in the old days, and I'm talking caveman days, and maybe even before that, if you wanted to get a can of beans, if you will, please humor me here. I understand there's no such thing as a can of beans in pre-caveman days, but again, the principle. If you need food, if you need a can of beans, you would go to the grocery store and you would basically talk to the individual that has the beans and say, what can I do for you? Oh, you need the front of your store painted? Okay, great. Is that worth a can of beans? Now, let's say you spend all day painting the front of the store only to realize that the payment is 1 can of beans. Now, let's just be honest, that's unfair. But the problem is you can't leave the store half painted. That's not really valuable to the store manager, right? And that's really the only skill set that you have is painting. So what do? Well, in that case, it's going to be an unfair exchange of value, but you're going to do it because you need the can of beans. Now, again, there's an argument that says, well, obviously, value-wise, that can of beans is worth it to you if you do it. But the problem is it's not real convenient and it's not real fair. And so we've developed this idea of currency. Now, currency has not always been what we refer to it today as, meaning dollars and coins and of course, now digital money. Currency used to be shells, precious metals, and again, there's a long, long history there. Even in the United States history of the gold standard and different things that have happened there. But for the most part, currency is what we use because you might paint that storefront and get paid $100 to do so and maybe spend $3 on the can of beans, which means you now have $97 of exchange value, if you will, to spend on other things. It just makes more sense. It's just more convenient. I want to pause here and remind you of another thing that makes more sense and is more convenient. That, of course, is the software that I use every day to manage my appraisal office, and that, of course, is ANOW. ANOW software is the only software, really, to do what I'm describing, to keep track of everything that's going on in your appraisal office. Folks, it is an investment in you. It is an investment in your company and your success. ANOW.com, and for 30% off for 3 months, use the coupon code podcast30, ANOW.com and podcast30. Going back to the program, folks, we're talking about principle number 3. Principle number 3 is that money is a tool, or money is an instrument, just like a hammer, just like a saw. Money is simply an easy way to exchange value. Instead of painting the front of the store and exchanging that for an unfair can of beans, you can exchange that for $100, which will allow you to spend $3 on the can of beans and then $97 elsewhere. It is an easy way to keep track of value. In the end, understanding that money is a tool, or it is an instrument, or just a placeholder for value. A placeholder for value. By the way, currency is an interesting word. Back then in the 1650s, the definition of currency was the condition of flowing. It really comes from the Latin word currens, and basically means to run or to flow. Again, the condition of flowing. Value flows. In order to keep track of that value, we use currency. Folks, if you start to understand, trust me here, you start to understand how money is not the sparkle in our eye that we sometimes attribute it to. Meaning, if we step back and stop telling ourselves, I want to be rich, I want to have money, I want, and start to understand what money is, all of a sudden we start to reflect differently upon life and the value that we are providing to our clients, to those around us. And it doesn't just become about money, it becomes about value exchange. That's really what it's all about. Speaking of a great exchange of value, how would you like to sit in a room with other successful appraisers for a full day and talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about and have their help in getting you from where you are to where you want to be? That's what a mastermind is all about. We have open seats across the country. You can go to my website, theappraisercoach.com, and check it out. Would love to see you there.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.